2 hours and 4 minutes. That length worried me. But it was okay. Like, I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that I already knew these characters. Mm-hmm. And so it made it easier to go in smoothly and seamlessly and enjoy. Because especially Scott, Paul Rudd. My goodness, he is a very friendly fellow. I don't know if that's how he is in the shoot life, but the working life, he's a guy I like to see on the screen.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. Yeah, but I agree with Oz. When I saw that film runtime, I'm like, geez, 2 hours is a long time for an Ant-Man movie. But it did all right. It obviously didn't change the world or anything, but it was a solid movie. Had some good moments.
So I'm gonna jump to the 51-minute mark, almost half, right? So I
was about to say I don't even know how you have these numbers, but all right.
Well, because I wrote it down and okay. I remember it because at the 51-minute mark I said that almost halfway through, and it feels like Jonathan Majors has been wasted, because he had only had one scene up until that point, where Janet Van Dyne is. I think she's remembering her time in the quantum realm.
Right.
And we see Jonathan Majors, and then we jump to regular Earth, and we don't see Jonathan Majors for another friggin' hour. And I'm like, why was this guy cast? Because I said, I was like, in Creed 3...
He was all over the movie.
What's that?
He was all over the movie.
Well, not only was he all over it, he had such powerful delivery, such presence in the film that I was like, this couldn't be... in my mind at least, this couldn't be anybody else. Whereas at the halfway point, I was like, why even waste your money on this guy? Like, you ain't using him. Like, you could have cast me. I could have been Kang and it wouldn't have mattered. And, but the reason I bring this up is because very, very quickly, so almost immediately after I wrote that note, I said, Jonathan Majors better get more because currently I feel like it could be anyone. And I didn't write the me part, but, I already said it, so that was a good line. Yeah. So I said, later I was like, him being exiled, that was cool. Okay, now Majors feels right because at about the halfway point is when he steps in and doesn't step back. Because as soon as Kang shows up in the film, that's when actually, I got a good reference point for this. That's when everything picks up. Mm-hmm. That's when everything takes off. And it's a lot like how in Spider-Man No Way Home, there's a certain point where everything just turns. It takes off and it doesn't look back. And it's about the 30-minute mark, 25, 30-minute mark, where it was like, all of this stuff in the beginning, not all, but a lot of it I'm like, we could have done without this, because once we hit that next gear, we just don't slow down. And that's how I feel about the second half of Quantumania.
I've always felt that in certain films, there are movies around a certain point that either pick up steam or they lower steam. Mm-hmm. Spider-Man No Way Home. To me, the movie really truly begins is when the apartment scene, and his spider sense going off in this. Same thing in this movie. Jonathan Majors, you see a shadow, and he walks in, and you're like, okay, the movie.
Exactly.
Yeah, the movie.
We're about to be about that.
Right. Exactly.
Yes,
what going on.
Right.
So there were a lot of little things about the movie before his introduction where I was like, oh, okay. I don't know the actor's name off the top of my head, but Chidi from The Good Place. Mm-hmm. When he shows up and he's reading minds, I'm like, oh, I like you. You're entertaining.
Oh, okay.
But and the little blob guy that everybody has to drink to understand what people are saying. I was like, this is cute and it's entertaining. It felt kind of Guardian-esque or
that was a vibe I got too.
Yeah, exactly. But it just didn't have the same weight that I was wanting, and we got that in spades when Jonathan Majors Kang showed up, because I mean he is the anchor to this film. He's the guy that really makes it all relevant and important, and it's interesting because currently there's talk of possibly him being replaced. I've seen John Boyega and other names banted back and forth between will they, won't they, what might be kind of thing.
I'm assuming this all hinges on how in trouble he is.
Of course, yeah. He has them their court dates, and we'll see how they go.
Yeah.
But my point behind bringing it up is I don't want to see him replaced. And it's no knock on John Boyega or Denzel Washington's son or anybody that is being looked at as a possibility, but it's just because I thought he was the best part of the film.
Fair.
So I want to. Okay, so before I think this movie is good.
Oh yeah, same here. I gave it a 4 out of 5. I thought good was a good rating.
Okay.
If you guys want to go ahead and throw it out there, that's fine.
3 out of 5, 3.5.
Yeah, fine. Yeah.
I also did a 3. So
yeah.
Go for it.
So because to me, how people are kind of like talking about this movie is very, like, I guess amateurish a little bit, I'm going to say. Because I think that the movie has a flaw or a fault. And I think it is major, but it doesn't hurt the film as much as what I
Everyone's
think
saying
it is.
Yeah.
My issue with the film is Scott Lang. It's just primarily Scott Lang's character. And I don't like the way that they kind of did his arc in this movie, because I felt that, to me, Scott Lang was the everyman, right?
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And everybody looked down on Scott like, "Come on, you're Ant-Man, right?"
Yeah.
Right. Thanks, Spider-Man.
Right.
That's disrespectful.
Right. I always felt that in this movie, Scott should be the one to sacrifice himself. It doesn't even mean dying, but staying back, and maybe Cassie forgetting who her dad was. And it would go back to the original thing of what the original Ant-Man, Michael Douglas, said. It's like, be the man that your daughter already thinks that you are. Mm-hmm. And I just felt like his arc shouldn't have been about him kind of getting the big head and like falling back into focus, where Scott is already in focus. It's everybody else forgetting how important this man is.
Oh, you must have forgot who I am.
Right. And they only realize that when he sacrifices himself for Cassie. Because to me...
Right. He did not die.
Right. But it doesn't have to be death. Maybe just staying.
Do you know why I like the big head?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because it's Rocky. It's Rocky when he's on top with the rolling robot and the... And
everything's going his way.
Everything's going his way, yeah, and
everything's coming up Millhouse.
That's awesome.
Is that our first Simpsons reference in the whole franchise?
I don't know.
My God.
But yeah, I see him having the big head, right, and saying, "Oh, I'm the one who saved everybody because of the quantum realm and the time heist and all that." It felt, like I said, very Rocky, especially going into the Mr. T fight.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because he ain't Mr. T, but Jonathan Majors being Damian Anderson, it fits, and maybe it's because I had the Rockies in my head going in, but I kind of got that Rocky Balboa feeling to it.
Yeah, it definitely helps with those with the last two movies I saw him in, so easy to draw those comparisons
for sure
between those two performances.
Yeah. Because, some people say, like, this movie's stakes aren't there. And I'm like, okay, this movie has stakes.
I'm about to say, yeah.
Like, you can't. But what I think people are missing, or what people have an issue with, is it's like, oh, Kang kind of just lost. He got defeated, even though we saw, like, how powerful this dude is.
Yeah.
But you can always...
Especially...
We saw how powerful one of
right.
him... I'm about to say, we saw how powerful one of him is.
Right. And it's like, oh, so, Ant-Man kind of defeated him. It's
Isn't the upcoming Avengers film called The Kang Dynasty?
Correct.
And wouldn't it make sense that the Dynasty is all the Kangs we meet at the climax?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So... I think he's doing quite all right.
Right. That's why it's like that. But it's the thing where I think people are kind of like coming up with their own film theories on how the MCU should go, and then it doesn't go that way. So then it's like, well, it's crap.
I'm mad now. This is trash.
Right, and it's like, no, I just think that, to me, I would have liked to see Scott, and maybe it's just how I envision Scott as,
Sure.
because he's always like, why was he in prison in the first movie? It wasn't for like petty theft or anything. It was because he was stealing things from a corrupt billionaire or something.
Yeah.
He was leaking it.
Yep.
It's like he's always been this guy, but that people always misunderstood.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's why I just think that focus, to me, is who Scott Lang as a character should have been, where it's like, oh, Cassie, of course she's in jail. She's like, my dad's a freaking Avenger. He can get me out of anything.
He can get me out of
And it's
any
like,
time.
yeah, it's like, thanks, Dad, but you're not Captain America. You're not Thor. You're just
not Iron Man.
Yeah.
You're not any of these big name guys. You're just Ant-Man.
man. But he has a point. He's like, well, without me coming out of that realm, everybody would have been saved.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, to be fair, half of everybody would be dead. But
Right. And I just think that, to me, that's what, maybe not a flaw, but what I was thinking that the movie was going to go.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
So I
it
won't
wasn't
say
a
like
route
an
you
issue.
were expecting.
Right, and just the character that I really do like Scott Lang as a character, and in the Ant-Man trilogy, or even in these.
Yeah, the broader
just in the
universe.
broader MCU.
Yeah. Speaking of people or characters that you find enjoyable, I've always thought that Michael Douglas's Hank Pym is a surprising gem of the universe, because too often Hank Pym gets labeled with one deed that was done,
Yes.
One
and
deed, one comic has yet to live it down.
and so it's funny that they decided to make him old and not have a relationship with this woman to avoid their moment.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good bullet to dodge.
Yeah, good. I like that. Good flip that. That's good. That's
Yeah,
good stuff.
especially not on a Disney property.
Oh Lord, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're
Mickey's not a fan.
shared. They're shared. I don't know if you know what you call it. Reveal to each other about their infidelities. I thought that was a surprising.
Wait, time out. You've been sleeping with other people
Yeah,
too?
well, the woman's got needs.
And then he tells her about the lady that didn't work out with him.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, I didn't see that coming.
It's like, well, it's been like over 40.
Yeah, I mean,
It was
listen,
30, 40
I wasn't
years
gonna do
ago.
nothing on this.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! And speaking of folks that Janet knew in the freaking quantum realm, Bill Murray was Bill Murray in this thing. Like
Yeah,
I wrote at one point, I was like, I don't understand who Kylar is other than Bill Murray. I think Kylar is just Bill Murray.
I honestly looked up the character afterwards, and I'm looking at him. I'm like, yeah, no, they just decided Bill Murray just be Bill Murray.
Yeah,
because
that's that was my assumption.
Yeah, like because I don't remember what the hell I read now, but after the movie I read it.
It was life changing. It seems.
Yeah. Oh, it was world beating, without a doubt.
Yeah.
But just the fact that like I looked at this, read this, and said, yeah, they literally just told him to be a more entertaining version of himself.
Yeah.
And it just kind of worked out. Yeah, my thing with this film, so like I said, I liked it. I agree with these two. It's a good movie. I don't know. I think, especially with these Phase 4 MCU films,
Oh, this would be in a Phase 5. Oh, sorry, go on. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
The newer phases anyway.
Yeah.
Whatever. I can't keep track of what's
Yeah,
what.
I mean, I wish they'd have dropped the whole gimmick entirely.
Yeah. But my point being, like, these newer Marvel films that are coming out that are setting up for the new Avengers movie, basically, are all of them are getting a lot of flack. There's been only like 2 that I think haven't been universally
Spider-Man.
hated.
Yeah, I think
Spider-Man.
That's the only one, really. Spider-Man.
And I thought Doctor Strange was like,
Nah,
I
people,
didn't like it.
people
oh,
are
yeah, that's right. You didn't like it.
No,
Never
but
mind.
people overall are kind of in the mid. I really liked it a lot, but overall people are like, it's okay. But Spider-Man is like the
Spider-Man's the only one that's like you, and that's just honestly, it's because of all the nostalgia. If I'm being honest, they really smart with the placement there.
Yeah.
But my point was, all of these newer MCU movies are getting a lot of hate. Some of them rightfully so, like Eternals.
Oh, Shang-Chi was pretty.
Shang-Chi was okay. That was the other one I was thinking of. Shang-Chi, good movie, but they're getting a lot of hate and flack because now that
Did you like Eternals?
No, I hated it.
Okay,
Burning
cool. I was just checking. So
Burning passion.
that was a movie I did by myself. So actually, Eternals, surprisingly enough, is the first movie I reviewed on the channel, because I was still trying to figure out what the channel was, other than an avenue to do one thing and one thing only, and to tell people that I wrote a 68-page graphic novel called Everlasting Survivors Volume 1 all day long, There are currently 5 cover options. This is cover A by Jeff Hicks. There's, B, C, D, E. There are 2 posters available. If you follow the link in the description, you can get any of those things. Plus, t-shirt, hat. Everybody who makes a purchase gets a sticker. But like I said, when I was first conceiving of the channel, I didn't know what it was. I just knew that I had to get out there. I had to reach an audience and say, folks, I have a product for you. And so the first movie I reviewed on the channel was Eternals when it dropped on Disney Plus, because I sure wasn't going to go to the movie theater and pay money to watch a movie that was that long. So I have the same feeling about Eternals that I do about The Batman and what was the other one?
Black Panther.
Thank you. Black Panther.
Black
Panther, Wakanda Forever, which is, in all 3 of those cases, if you give me the raw footage, I believe there has to be a good movie in there. There's just too much content for there not to be a good movie in those vast number of hours. Because I like the beats of the characters in the Eternals. We've got a Superman allegory. We've got a Flash allegory. We've got all these characters that want to be characters that I love. The Justice League. And so...
you aren't picking it together.
And so I would... Oh, and here's the other thing. So I was hanging out with Ahmed the other day because we were both talking about how much we don't like the length or the execution of the Eternals. And I popped up these statues. I'll put the picture up now of the Eternals because it was beautiful. It was elegant and it looked great. And I was also going over how I thought Phastos, specifically, his comic appearance was so far superior to his in-film appearance, and how that anyway, we're just talking about how that I thought Eternals could have been better, and I feel the same way about multiple Marvel, both in the now, specifically in the now actually, this latter version to get back on track. I think that the more recent things could really stand to have a little more structure, but trimmed down a bit. I think they're getting a little too bloated and losing their way.
Yeah, because so the original Marvel movies, like the ones that like the Iron Man, your Thors, yada yada, the ones everyone knows and loves. Like I look back on all those just to see like were these movies all just really really long, and I'm just like rose tinted glasses in my head. But no, like they're like hour 45, hour 50. It was, I think Thor was the first one that was 2 hours.
I don't know.
Yeah, one or the other. But like the point being, there wasn't like a big long feature length film until it was like the team up or something.
Yeah, I do believe it was Avengers that was the first one to really cross that long
first
threshold.
one, and it was worth it.
And it was freaking beautiful.
Yeah, I'm about to say it was a great movie.
There are 2 movies in the history of me watching movies. I mean, that's probably an exaggeration, but 2 specific movies that I watched, and when I watched them, I said, I want to make movies. Now, granted, I had already been going to school for video and audio production, so like it wasn't that far of a stretch for me to watch a movie and say, this makes me want to make movies. But one of them was The Avengers because of the gravity of everything. It was so big and majestic and beautiful, and I just loved it. But the other one was actually the opposite. It was the subtlety, the nuance, the small but care that was given to it. It was a movie called Gosnell. Oh, that's fine. I'm gonna say that it's a movie starring Dean Cain, where it felt a lot like what is it, not NCIS or CS, it's any one of those freaking initial TV shows, but this movie was investigating the
NCIS.
Yeah, any of those types of things, Law and Order, dun dun dun, type of thing.
Yes.
But this movie, Gosnell, it's the reveal and the subsequent prosecution of an abortion doctor who killed kids upon being born.
Wow.
Yeah, and then he collected their body parts because he was a weirdo. Yeah.
That sent a really bad shiver down my spine.
Well, and the thing is, like, it was A, based on true story, and B...
so much worse.
Exactly. And so, but, like I said, it was just the the gravity of that film,
Yeah.
and the juxtaposition to the majesty of the Avengers film.
Absolutely.
It was just those two things were like, wow, I love making products.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Telling stories.
Bringing her back around.
Yes.
Because we go off on a side tangent. The point being,
We're good at that.
Yeah.
the point being, the original point I was trying to make was just, I think Ant-Man's fallen into the trap of a lot of these other newer MCU movies. They're making the film too long, and because the film's so long, there's more to criticize.
Ooh, that's a good argument.
And sorry, yeah.
Yeah, no, go.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, and because of that, people are finding little things that they want to nitpick at, and then blowing them out of proportion. Like, I think Ant-Man is a great film. It does good things. Yes, there is some things they could have trimmed out, cut down on, or just not done, and it probably would have made it better.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say it's a bad movie because of those faults. I think it's more people are just upset that the film is so long and not exactly what they wanted.
Okay, that's good. I didn't really think about length that much. I talked about a little bit with Oz and what I think is a problem with the MCU now. There's a couple of things, but I'm going to go with what Marvel I think can do differently.
I like that.
First, I believe that they need to think about how they're going to structure these movies post the Avengers or anything like that. Because what I mean by that is, take Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness.
Mm-hmm.
Does that have anything to do with the first Doctor Strange movie?
Not at all.
Like,
Well, when we talked off camera, the only correlation I could even come up with was the Rachel McAdams character, and her moving on from Stephen Strange. But even that small connection can be you can establish that with just a little bit of dialogue, which they do, and pretty much no reference back to anything that had previously happened. So if you had never seen the first movie, you're fine.
right. I think that you can honestly. So sorry. Before that, but from Iron Man to Iron Man 2, the movies connect very well.
To be fair, those are the only two in the streak so far, aside from Hawk. But,
actually, Guardians and Guardians 2.
Right.
You're saying the only ones in the movie universe?
At that point in time.
Right, but okay.
Technically, to this day, still barely count Hawk.
Sure. Yes.
But take for instance, Captain America: The First Avengers to Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Yeah, absolutely.
They go together.
I can watch those films back to back, and I can find the connection.
Right. So, they are legitimate sequels.
Yes.
Like there is no Doctor Strange 2 is more of a sequel to, honestly, Infinity War and Endgame. Mm-hmm. It has very little or to nothing, because remember what happened at the end of the first Doctor Strange movie.
I actually don't remember what
Dormammu, right?
No, I'm talking about the post-credit scene.
After that, okay.
Yeah, the post-credit scene. It was not Caecilius, that was the main bad guy, but Chiwetel Ejiofor's character took the guy's powers and said there should be no more sorcerers.
Oh, okay.
That was the post-credit scene.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
That had nothing to do. It was another. Yeah, it was another character from another different universe and things like that. Take, for example, now Thor Ragnarok to Thor Love and Thunder has
nothing.
Absolutely nothing to do with
it. And once again, that's more of a sequel to definitely Infinity War.
Ragnarok is a sequel to Age of Ultron because of it establishing where Hulk is upon him leaving.
Exactly.
But you're right. It has nothing to do with Thor 2.
Besides tone of Ragnarok and Thor Love and Thunder, but then from the previous incarnation that we got from Thor, which was Infinity War and Endgame, definitely Infinity War, which is the one that was like the most Thor that people liked.
Right.
He has nothing to do with that character.
Correct.
So I think Marvel needs to think about, before they make these movies, what type of sequel or film are we making?
I'll wait till you're finished.
Because
you know what I'm going to say anyway.
Well, no, actually, just say it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I think would have solved all of these problems, these inconsistencies, is if when Thanos got the Infinity Stones and he snapped, he didn't kill half of the universe, he killed everyone. He killed everyone and everything. If Marvel Studios would have had the balls to say, it's all done, it's all over, everyone's dead, Thanos wins, then they would have had the ability to say, okay, we see that it can work, what we're going to do now is reboot the universe, and we don't have to pay these big fat checks to Robert Downey Jr. or whoever, and then you don't have the problem that we have right now. Where the heck are the Fantastic Four? Because I said in my notes at one point, I said, I wish that the Fantastic Four were stuck in the quantum realm, because at least it would give us a reason why they haven't been in the freaking universe.
Mm-hmm.
They're
not allowed to have a movie. That's
well, I mean, but now they are allowed to have one. So if you say that they were stuck here the whole time, then you can go tell a story about them in 1990. Yeah, anytime, I don't care, because time doesn't work the same here.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of Fantastic Four, have you seen the rumors for the Invisible Woman?
No. What?
Margot Robbie is the current rumor.
Ooh. Yeah, I heard that.
And so
that's my girl.
So
I love her.
She's in my top 3 now, because she never even crossed my mind.
Right.
So my number 1 draft pick.
Well, I only see her as Harley. So
if I could, well, there's one role I always think of her in, and that's the Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's my number 1 draft pick for Sue Storm is the love interest for Georgie in Young Sheldon. I can't remember her dang name, but I'll pop her beautiful picture up here. She's known from Disney stuff as a kid, but
wait, Emily Osmond?
Yes, Emily Osmond. She is my Sue Storm. Wow,
Little Lily from Hannah Montana. I'm not even mad at that.
Oh, that's funny because Ahmed today said I know her from Hannah Montana.
Yeah,
and I was like,
that was the show we grew up on.
Yeah, it's all good. I ain't know nothing wrong. But yeah, I love that chick. She's my number 1 draft pick. If I could pick anyone, she's my one. But
why did I know that though? I don't watch Young Sheldon. How did I pick that out?
Disney, blonde, beautiful.
Yeah.
Anyway, where was I off? Oh, yes. If they would have had the guts to snap the whole universe, then we wouldn't have to explain where the X gene comes from and have they been here the whole time. We wouldn't have to explain where the heck are the Fantastic Four, where they've been the whole time. We could have just started fresh, and we could have had a clear path to, specifically in my mind, we would have had a clear path to be like, here's the universe, start with the Fantastic Four, and end with Galactus. And do it every 20 years. Every 20 years, we'll do a thing, and then we'll have the villain win in the end. Then we'll start fresh. We'll start paying people again. Was it 20 years since the MCU started?
10.
10?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
was it
the
10?
second round, give it the second year.
2009, Iron Man first movie, and then 2019 with
2008 was Iron Man first movie, I thought.
Yeah, well,
but my point is, second round,
you're right.
Second round, plan it for 20 years, right? Mm-hmm. Because now you've got the formula down, and just plan it for 20 years to be like, we're good, guys. We got this.
All right. Galactus ate the planet on Earth 62.
Yeah, and so that's all I was thinking, is that if they would have had the guts to say, oh, it's all over, then we got...
Yeah.
And then we can recast people we like, we can save money, we can do whatever we need. You know?
Right. Yep. And then my second critique, and it's outside of what the MCU can even control, or Disney or Marvel, is people. Because I always talk about this with Oz. I said that, to me, the MCU has become something like sports criticism or critiques.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, so people will have like a still, let's just take like LeBron James or something, right? And him like being animated. It's just a still of something, right? And people will start like, oh my gosh, he's such a little bee, he's crying, and right?
Or conversely, the opposite, where it's, oh, look at this king, the greatest of all time.
Look at this legend,
yeah.
highest scoring
player
ever. And according to Stephen A, should be replacing the Mount Rushmore if Steph Curry beats him this one time.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that people have yet to see this thing, and they either glowingly love it or they glowingly hate it, and that just
so I think I've already announced on the channel, but if I haven't, I have a plan in October for the All or Nothing and the Retro Review to be connected, because the All or Nothing, I want to be the Ghostbusters that do connect each other, and the Retro Review to be the one that stands alone. And so you're talking about having this pre-established thought process, this opinion before you ever saw it. That's actually how I feel about the Ghostbusters reboot. So I have my predisposition of thinking I'll dislike it without having ever seen it. And then so I actually had the thought the other day so I bought it for $4 used at a half price books because I was like, well, I don't want to buy it digital because what if I don't like it and I get to just sit there and I don't want to anyway. So I bought it used, whatever, easy peasy. And that way everything that I've got planned to watch this year for the channel I actually already have. So there's one thing I still got to find, but it is hard as heck to find. It's also a Halloween special, but I'll get to that when I get to it.
Gotcha.
And so yes, I agree with that whole idea. And I usually when I have a prejudgment of something and I think I'm going to dislike it. Perfect example is Joss Whedon's Justice League. I went in thinking I was going to hate it, and I came out thinking, I'm ambivalent, which was an improvement over hate. And so I agree, though, that pre-decision, that thought process of, I already know that you're the greatest or you're the worst before I get here, can be an issue.
But this is the thing, and this is why I always like talking to you about these things. And people might say like, "Oh, that gets annoying," but it's like Oz is blatantly like, "Hey, I don't want to see it because of this reason."
Oh yeah.
And then, but you got people, "Oh yeah, I'm going to see it, I'm going to love it," but you kind of know internally they're going to hate this movie just because it's part of like whatever, or they're going to love this movie.
That's part of the reason whenever I tell Oz to go watch something, I'm like, he might love it, he might hate it, or like if I know for a fact he's probably going to hate it, I don't tell him anything about it until he watches it.
Well, the Batman to me is the perfect example of this, right? Because when I saw Gimp Mask Riddler, I was turned off. Well, and that knowing he's a serial killer, I'm like,
small things.
That ain't my thing.
Right. And that makes sense. It's like, hey, I now know a couple of people now who's like, yeah, I didn't really like the Batman movie. I'm like, because he wasn't the Batman. They're like, yeah, exactly. It's usually people are like, well, how did you like the movie? But I was like, it makes sense because based on prior lore, this is not that character at all. This is completely, totally different. But yeah, it's just like you get this glowing love for this property. Like, come on, guys, it's gonna be great because of this, this, and this, and I grew up with this. It's like, okay, fine, I guess. Or you're like, well, this movie's gonna suck because Phase 4. It's like, well, nothing has come out yet for you to even judge it glowingly or negatively.
Right.
Now, if you're going off of trailers, I guess fine, because that's what they're there for. It's like
check this out. So as far as trailers go, they dropped that one for The Marvels. Have you watched it?
Yeah.
How about you? You watched
I watched it.
So I watched it, and so I saw a lot of people saying, "Oh, it's bad," right? Basically, oversimplification, but bad. And do you know what my initial thought was when I saw this?
It's all right.
I didn't even think it was all right. I thought my initial thought was, I don't care.
Okay.
Right? And
that was my thought.
So I'm not mad at it. But I'm also not pulled in.
Yeah. It was very much it's there.
Yeah.
Like I recognize it as there.
And so to grant the movie something, I felt very similarly to Captain Marvel, right? So the thing that really made me want to watch it was Jude Law. And then as soon as I heard that he wasn't Marvel, I was like, well, I'm far less intrigued immediately. Because when I thought he was going to be Marvel, I was like, all right, I like Jude Law, and I like Marvel, let's do this thing. And then when I was like, nah, that's that lady over there, I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'll watch it when it's free. And then I did, and I also didn't really care either.
You care for her, but I think, when you did your thing, you didn't put it at the whole way bottom.
Yeah, I was about to say.
I think it was... I'm pretty sure I went Eternals, Thor 2, then it?
No, it was higher.
It was higher? Okay.
Yeah.
There was a couple
movies that
were worse.
It's fine.
You put us on the spot. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But it wasn't.
I distinctly remember it being though, like, because even like when I was watching, I'm like, this movie is fine, but like I just saw Infinity War. It was such a great movie, and then this is literally just very clearly trying to sandwich in a character that they probably should have had a movie for a year ago, or not a year, but a few
even
movies
never.
ago.
That's also possible as never.
Yeah. I mean, they could have did never. I get why they would want to do their own movie, because the whole point of a Captain Marvel movie was to establish that stuff outside of Earth happens.
Oh, sure. I mean, how about this? She could have easily have been referenced in Guardians, or in that general concept because of her being space-based.
Of course.
But
Or
anyway.
Nick Fury could have mentioned like, yeah, we have the secret weapon in my back pocket.
Yeah, that he always
Ever.
had.
Yeah, this little, what was it, a pager?
Yeah,
it's
that he
pager.
could have
pager.
used on the first Avengers movie, and she
Yeah.
would have cleaned up house
Cleaned
in
up
like
house in 2
1
seconds. Well,
In
but
defense-
they were like, nah, I'm pretty sure you guys can handle Loki.
In
No problem.
defense, I do know Joss Whedon was going to have her in the first movie.
Oh, okay.
It
He
wouldn't.
was?
It
I
wouldn't have
didn't know
been
that.
Brie Larson, but he was going to put Captain Marvel in the movie.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know
Because
Did he have a casting idea? Or?
I'll look it up and pop the picture up, but there was talk of Captain Marvel, not Brie Larson,
Yeah.
being in the film. But the studio said, no, let's not do it because these are the people know. And they didn't want to have the confusion of who's this person we don't know.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
pop
I mean, they
up.
put Hawkeye in.
But he was
he was
already in
already-
Thor.
Right.
I guess.
He had that brief scene where he
Yeah.
was.
And still, he gets a lot of exposition
Yeah.
early on. And so
Alright,
I
fair.
get it.
And I actually like Hawkeye, to be fair. I just
Oh,
don't
yeah,
like it.
especially like Jeremy Renner.
Yeah, Jeremy Renner.
Oh,
Love
yeah.
that guy.
Yep.
Is he better now?
Yeah, yeah, he's a little bit better.
He-
But he's
he
out
ain't
of
dead,
hospital.
that's the important
Yeah,
right.
yes, that's what I cared about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just want to make
Crushed
sure
by
he's
a
recovering.
snowplow. Ooh.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But yeah, it's just I just always said that the MCU now is just a sport where
Yeah.
it's like to be a part of the conversation, you either got to be this part
For
of
or
it,
against.
or you just
You
got
gotta
to
be
can't.
way over, and it's not like the dead center thing either. You have to be way over here or
Right.
way over here.
And if you glowingly dislike it, you're like, oh my gosh, how you're the worst person ever. If you glowingly love it, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
It's like you're like, okay,
you optimistic
you're like, I
dummy.
might as well just not even talk at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great.
God forbid you have an opinion.
Yeah.
Right, that's somewhat in the middle. It's like, no, you cannot be in the middle. It's like,
You either love it or hate it. I'm
Yeah.
like, but it's fine though. I don't have strong feelings.
yeah, I was like,
Much
yeah.
like this Ant-Man movie, I don't have strong feelings.
Yeah,
For it.
I just never felt like watching this movie, or even actually a lot of MCU movies, that my time was ever really just wasted.
Yeah.
That pretty much, I'm
Mm.
like, whatever. Am I gonna watch a couple of these ones again? No.
No.
I could totally see myself putting this one on.
Oh yeah, yeah,
You're just talking about in general. I think.
yeah.
But
Oh, okay,
Not
that's
just,
fine.
Not just Ant-Man, but like just.
Well, but I do think that is a good metric, right? So
Yeah.
I'm gonna call you out real quick, just as a
Not me.
yes, you.
Okay.
Um,
I'm here.
And I could be totally off base, but ever since I've updated the rating system to add love and hate, you have said that you love something that I say I hate.
Yeah.
And I wondered to myself, and I'm going to ask you now on the channel,
I'm here.
look at the screen when you answer this question.
Oh.
Have you rewatched Peacemaker?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I actually have.
I was surprised by that. Even regardless of the answer, whether yes or no, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Right.
But I was surprised by it because I slightly thought you were only saying you love it because you know that I dislike it.
So I will be the first to admit that was part of the reason I did like the show.
Of course.
However, because especially when I watch something weekly,
Mhm.
like obviously my thoughts get screwed because I'm like, man, this is great. I can't wait for the next episode to come out. Can't wait to see what happens next. So typically, if I like the
Oh,
series,
so you're saying my problem is that I watched it all at once and I wanted to, run into traffic.
Yeah. No, I mean I liked it just as much the second time I watched it, but I do think, especially with something as goofy as Peacemaker, it probably would have helped if you watched it week to week as
Okay.
opposed to
All at once.
if you just watched it all in
Sure.
one binge watching situation.
Oh,
I liked it both ways, but pause. But you get the point.
I mean, that's fine. Hey, like what you like, just don't be a dick.
yes, there we go.
Yeah,
That
but
should be a
you
slogan.
get my point.
It is actually. So I stole it from a guy named Brian Zane.
Uh,
He did this show called the Wednesday Night War, where he would review AEW Dynamite and WWE's NXT head to head and then pick a winner. And so from that, he told the people in the comments, like what you like, just don't be a dick.
okay.
And
And
it's a good
they sell
philosophy to go
t-shirts.
through.
Yeah.
He's a good guy.
Yeah.
I know you don't watch wrestling, but he does like movie reviews and stuff too.
Oh,
It's
okay.
all wrestling related, but
Okay.
Yeah, about to say he does a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, point being, like, especially like with Peacemaker, because I'll admit I probably hyped it up a lot more because I knew you hated it.
sure.
But even like going back and rewatching it, I had a good time. I
Yeah,
had a
that's
few
good.
laughs.
And
Really like seeing Cena in the juxtaposition.
Rewatchability is really good.
Mhm.
I would never and hope to never rewatch Peacemaker. I actually got really. You don't mind if I spoil something for you, right?
Sure, go for it.
Thank you. I actually got really. I don't know what the right term is because I don't like the idea of being offended, but I got frustrated. That's the word. I got frustrated when a movie that I like, Shazam, Fury of the Gods.
Oh yes, that's it.
Tied itself to that freaking terrible anchor.
Black Adam.
No, Peacemaker, and sank itself down to the freaking bottom of the ocean and said, "Please drown me," because I love those characters, and yet in the pre-post credit scene,
so the first post-credit scene when the credits start, and then
correct,
it's like the picture one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then the scene, then it has the regular credits.
They tie Peacemaker to Shazam! Fury of the Gods, and I don't like it.
How did they do
hardcore?
Oh, hardcore pop. Okay.
Yeah.
Her and Diebeer show up.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And they try and recruit him, Billy.
They try to recruit. Oh, okay, got it. Yeah, okay, I can see that makes sense.
I do not like it at all.
Yeah, because it's like, well, what? But anyway, DC is. Oh, also, this is why I as many flaws as what the DC movies have, the one that they don't, and which I actually will pat them on the back for, is they don't have villains who are competent and then all of a sudden they're not competent for them to lose.
They're consistent all the way.
Yeah, they're consistent all the way through. To me, in the MCU movies, the villain is like super articulate. He can't
super
lose.
intelligent.
Right.
I'm like, how can they beat this guy? Oh, he did something
Well,
really
you know
stupid.
how Ken got defeated, right? Or by no, I mean recall.
Yeah.
It was MODOK turning back into Darren, the human being.
Mm-hmm.
Not turning, but like mentally choosing.
Finding a conscience.
Yeah, finding a conscience and choosing to be the man rather than the machine only designed for killing or whatever.
Because then he says, now I'm an Avenger.
Yes.
I'm an Avenger now. I'm like, sure, buddy.
Yeah. But yes. But
that was one of those jokes I actually laughed at in the theater.
But my point is that I think that the surprise turn, in this case, if we're going to use wrestling terms, of MODOK was not necessarily an out of nowhere less than for Kang himself. It was just he didn't see this guy stabbing in the back.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That was fine.
Yeah.
Like, to me, the best villains in the MCU, I think honestly number one has to be not Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Oh my gosh, the Winter Soldier. Ooh.
I was about to say that.
Oh my
they had
God.
the worst. No,
and the
God.
Winter Soldier.
No, they had one of the worst. I'm talking about. Sorry, with Hydra, but with the
Flag Smashers.
No.
I'm
Sorry,
beginning-
it's not
I don't know where he's going.
No. The
I wish I could help.
I can't think of his Pierce, the head of Hydra.
Oh, Robert Redford.
Yes,
Yeah,
Robert
okay.
Redford's character.
Yes.
To me, he was probably honestly the best villain.
Well, I have one request of him.
Yep.
I want him to pull his face off and be like, "I'm the Red Skull" the whole time.
I've been the Red Skull the entire time.
So that actually happened in an episode of Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes, and that's why I saw it coming.
Oh yeah.
The whole time, and I think that's also why they didn't do it.
Oh, okay.
Is because they were like, well, it's too obvious. So
Everybody knows.
So instead of making him the Red Skull reincarnated, he's just an evil government person, which
Really good to be an evil.
We got plenty of them, so it's like we got a lot to pick from.
Loki, great villain. Ego, I think, is a great villain in Guardians Volume 2.
I think Red Skull was pretty great.
Yeah, Red Skull was great.
For the one movie he was there.
But for me, DC, they just either because I don't know. Like for me, what's in Justice League? What was the main bad guy in that movie?
The original version or the...
Well, both versions.
Because the
Well,
second
technically
version,
Darkseid.
Well, technically, Side, yes.
Well, that's
but
why I was asking it, because the original version, it's Steppenwolf.
Yes,
Yeah,
sorry. That's what I was thinking.
That's why I asked.
Right, but yes, you're all right.
Steppenwolf is the only villain in the Joss Whedon version, but in the Zack Snyder version, he's only the herald of Darkseid.
Yeah.
Correct. In Zack Snyder's version, they lose.
Which should be the only version, in my opinion.
Right, it should be. They lose. Because the villains were competent. The only reason why they lost is the same thing with kind of like MODOK. It's the Flash pulling the Flash and what he does
Yeah.
and rewinding time. It's like, thank you. The villains were competent. The only reason why they lost is because
Because of cheat
Cheat
codes.
code.
a cheat code.
So glad you thought that.
Yes, a cheat code. For me,
I was literally looking at cheat codes up for Crash Bandicoot because I could not beat the
Oh,
dang thing.
Try having a
Yeah.
tough
And I
time.
was like,
Yeah.
somebody please help me, internet.
You're like
Internet, tell me what to
lines.
do.
yeah,
Yeah.
I understand. Trust
Yeah,
me.
Crash is rough.
Yeah,
Fun
you-
game.
yeah,
Fun
you
as
know.
hell. But boy, makes you want to snap the controller.
Yes, but that's what I mean by the villains, where it's like, okay, these guys are now complete idiots so that the heroes can. It's like, oh, Green Goblin. Even though it was a Green Goblin from a different universe. But it's like, hey, Peter Parker won and beat him. Why? Because he wasn't holding back. He was consistently holding back the whole time. We understand that because Spider-Man's a good guy.
Yeah.
And that's why it's like, okay, the best villains are the ones where it's like they're competent throughout. They don't just get dumbed down through.
They got beat by the merit of the hero and not because the villain is discrediting
Right.
themselves.
Like,
Can't think of a better word.
DC just has a
But-
problem, well, with Zack Snyder's is it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
What?
Oh.
Common sense in DC? No, that
But,
doesn't sound
yes.
like some.
But yeah, so overall, personally, I say if you haven't seen Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, it's worth giving it a
I'm
shot.
about to say carve out a couple hours and just have a sit down.
May 17th, I think, is going to be released on Disney Plus.
Especially
Feel like
if,
that's right.
you want to get together with family, pop some popcorn, and just have a chill time, because that's what I feel like this is a good chill time, right? It's not that.
You don't have to think too hard about it. It's not really.
Yeah, they got you. They got you.
Yeah.
They're like, here, have a little drink, and we're gonna fill you right in.
There
Yep.
you go.
Yep. It's
And
not
so,
trying to do anything too crazy.
Exactly. Well, thank you for your assistance in this video, gentlemen. It's always great having you, and everybody, please come this Wednesday for the Wednesday Rewind. See you on Friday for, I forget what the content is, to be honest, but it'll be something fun. And then next Monday will be Terminator All or Nothing. But we're doing it different. We're only doing the original trilogy because we couldn't bring ourselves to take that trip to Genesis and go down that dark fate.
Salvation and
Yes.
dark fate.
To the beginning.
Basically, we didn't want to torture ourselves if we didn't have to.
Yes.
But if you watch, if you like, you subscribe, we will do the thing we don't want to do
Mm-hmm.
for you.
Yep.
No offense, Oz, but I really hope that it doesn't get those views.
Well, you're always welcome to peace out if you'd like.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's not
It's not mandatory. The only person who has to be here is me.
Yeah.
Help us, please.
We're trapped. Blink twice.
All right. See you guys later.
Take care, guys.